think we can start now. Work.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, you're audible, Tushar.
Yeah. We will start in 5 minutes. Guys, tell your friends to join the event. Sir, your voice is a little bit low, miss. Uh, Hello.
1 second. Is it any better now? Tushar? Am I clearly audible now?
Yeah, now audible.
Yes, you're audible. Yeah, okay.
How was your day, sir?
Yeah, it's going good and pretty busy as of now. I think it's going to get more busier over time, but yeah, getting used to.
Okay.
So everyone who are joining are from NIT Warangal or some other people are.
No, actually it is open for all colleges, na? So participants
Okay,
are from every college. Means anyone who
okay,
registered.
okay, okay. Would it be comfortable if I mix Hindi
Yeah, it
with
is
English? Or,
comfortable, sir.
okay. Otherwise, if I like speak in English totally, then probably okay. I'm कभी कभी बात करते करते निकलता है ना हिंदी. Okay, we'll ask that question. If Hindi, then we'll speak in.
Yeah, when the participants get access and they will ask in Hindi, so you can reply in Hindi.
Okay, okay.
We will start in 2 minutes, guys. Uh, Tell your friends to join SR. Hello, everyone. I think we can start now. We have good number of participants here. Okay. Good evening to one and all from the EC Association of NIT Warangal. I am Tushar, your host for today's UPSC talk with Mr. Subhankar Bala. Before introducing our guest speaker, there are many new aspirants in the audience, so let me introduce you to the UPSC pattern once for a better understanding of today's session. So, change the slide. So, UPSC is conducted, it has three stages: prelims, mains, and personal interview. Change the slide. In prelims, there are two papers, GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Prelims is qualifying in nature, and GS paper 2 is known as CSAT. Then we have mains. Those who qualified prelims are eligible for mains. For mains, we have 7 papers and 2 language paper. For language paper, it is again qualifying. English is compulsory, and then there is one Indian optional language. For then paper 1 is essay, then 1 to 4 is GS paper uh, uh, that we prepare. Then we select one optional. For that we have two paper 1 and paper 2. For the final merit list, prelims marks is not considered, but mains marks is considered. Then we have interview in the last, which covers 275 marks. So that is the last. After that, All India ranked list will be released, and UPSC result is announced. Now, introducing you all to our guest speaker. Change the slide. Introducing you to our guest speaker today, Mr. Subhankar Bala. He secured All India rank 79 in UPSC CSE 2020. He is also our alumnus. Subhankar Bala, sir, is from 2070 batch and has completed his BTech from NIT Warangal in Electronics and Communication. He worked for Texas Instruments as an analog design engineer for around 2 years. He then quit his job and prepared for UPSC and cracked in his second attempt itself. On behalf of all of us here, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. So, without any further delay, let's hear from the man himself. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I was part of ECS myself, so I'm happy to talk to you guys. I think some of you are from NIT Warangal, some of you are not. I'll be speaking in mostly English. Sometimes I may switch to Hindi. If you are comfortable asking questions in Hindi, I can answer in Hindi as well. It's not a problem. So I have got some of the basic questions, that you guys have put. I'll answer them one by one. So the first question that was asked, like, what made you become sure that you wanted to go for civil service, considering you had a secure job in Texas Instruments? So answering that, I'll say, look, civil service is a different kind of job compared to any other job, specifically being an IAS or IPS or any other officer like IFS. It gives you different kind of opportunities that are fundamentally different from any private job or any other kind of job. Texas Instruments is a very reputed and very good company to work with. I was the only person to get into Texas Instruments, and also it has a very good work culture. There was nothing bad, but inherently some people had the attitude, always has the attitude to work for the society, directly for the people. It's not always needed that you need to come to civil service to work for people. There are many other ways like NGOs and many other things, but this gives you much better opportunity to actually impact people's life more directly, indirectly, in other manners. And also it gives you the opportunity to control policy making that probably you will not get in any other. So that is the primary basic reason I preference to civil service more than my private job. I was quite happy with the kind of opportunities I was getting in Texas Instruments, but as I was like quite young at that time, and I had 1 or 2 years to spare to experiment with my life. I can quit my job, live the luxurious life, and put myself into the struggle mode. That's why I decided to go for this preparation mode. I gave myself around 2 years or 3 years approximate to prepare and give my best for the exam. Luckily, I got it through. So that is the primary motive, that you must have that attitude that you want to serve the society, and probably you want to be more closer to policy making, the decision making, and people of different kind, different nature. If you choose Indian Foreign Service, probably you will be away from people, but then again you will be representing your country to in different institutions. So these are some different kind of prestigious job, and something that people want to go for. So that is the primary motive.
Hello, sir. Sir, let me ask. We have a set of questions. We will ask according to that question.
Okay,
Then we will
okay,
move to the question that registered participant asked.
okay,
Okay. So, sir, the first question is: when did you first decide you wanted to become an IS officer?
okay. So the primary motivation came at very early age, actually, in my school days when I was my parade commander of my school team. At that time, I didn't have much idea. Everyone had just some slight bit of idea, and the craze, the car with red or blue light on top, etc. So there is not much proper idea, but some kind of fantasy that usually grows inside people that okay, this post holds a lot of power. So I'll not say that is something that actually inspired me to become a civil servant or IAS or IPS officer, whatever I will become. Actually, I started reading more about it when I joined Texas Instruments. During my college life, I met some of my friends whose parents were some state service officers or some bureaucrat in some position. So that gave me some bit of idea about the kind of work they do. But I really didn't know much about actual civil service examination, the pattern, what is the level of competition, what are the opportunities, and that kind of job that one gets. Civil service examination does not only create IAS. There are many other jobs like IPS, IRS, income tax, IRS, customs and excise, Indian audit and account service. There are 18 like services. So the people, most of the people are only crazy about IAS, but there are many other services which are very good as well. So those kind of ideas were not very concrete inside me during college time. I started reading a little bit more about it when I was in the job, and at that time I thought of all my options so that I can leave the job. I started preparing while doing the job. I started to read around 3 hours to 4 hours a day, and the weekend probably 10 hours or more. So in the weekends, and I wanted to understand whether I was capable enough to go for the this. It is probably said the toughest exam in the country. So I was not even sure that I will be able to crack it or something. So I started preparing, and after preparing for around 7 and 8 months, I went for the preliminary exam, and I cleared it in the first attempt. That that gave me confidence that yes, if I can study for 3 hours a day and clear the preliminary, probably I should give it a full try. And it is possible to clear the job with job, but the thing is, then probably you need little bit more clarity and little bit more time to complete the whole syllabus and to have a good strategy. And I did not have that much clarity at that time, so I left the job and I wanted to give dedicated 100% of my effort to this exam, and I went to Delhi after that.
Okay, sir. Glad to hear that. Then we have the other question: how to prepare your mindset before starting the actual preparation?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, around I think around 6-7 lakhs or around 8 lakhs people go for the exam, but I don't believe that many have the actual dedicated mind to go for the exam. So what I'll say is that um, don't be influenced by movies. That is one thing that in movies people show some random things that something happens, and then best to take revenge or to just to show off, people start preparing. That is a very bad notion, because those kind of ideas can get you motivated for 2 days, probably 1 month. And this is not a 1 month journey. This is a journey that can last for 2-3 years. So that can never be the highest motivation that will make you go for the exam and have high amount of inspiration for 2-3 years. Have some good understanding about the work, little bit, not some very good. You don't need to have very good, it's not possible. Some understanding about the kind of work that an IAS or IPS officer or IRS, Indian Foreign Service officer, do. Have some you know grounded idea that what actually they do. That is one thing. And second, ask yourself these questions: do you like to study? Because whatever, one can be very very talented, but that person yet After that, need to study for 10 to 11 or 12 hours a day, approximately for 1 to 2 years. That is not that may sound little easy, but it's not. Okay, so you need to ask yourself that whether you like studying. It is true that you will be learning a lot of new things that you have never heard about, that you have never known about. It is a very fun journey because you learn a lot of things about the world, about the country, our society, culture, everything. But if one does not like studying for that many number of hours or so, it is possible that after 2 or 3 months, the number of hours of study goes down to a miserable level, and then the level of preparation again goes down. So having this thought clear that yes, you like studying and it is not a problem to study for 10, 11 hours a day, that is okay. And second, are you like this again, you may not have control over. Are you financially capable to leave almost everything you have? There is opportunity cost when you're preparing for the exam. Probably you are leaving a job or you are not doing a job. That is opportunity cost. Not many are financially strong enough to leave a job or not to have a job and to prepare. So that creates some roadblock for many, but you need to have some understanding how many years you can spare. What I can advise or can say is that don't prepare for the exam half-heartedly. If you want to crack it, you cannot clear it with half-heartedness. You have to give your 100%. You may have a job, yet after that you can bring out 5 hours a day or some X number of hours a day, and you need to give your 100% for this exam. You need to dedicate totally for this exam. Only then this can be cleared. Otherwise, you are competing with people who are 100% dedicated for the exam, and it is just a matter of 5 marks or 10 marks out of 2,000 marks that will you know probably throw you out from IAS or IPS or IFS. Your rank can go down by 100 rank. So ask, like, make yourself know that what are the answers of these questions, how many years you can spare, and whether you are ready to give your 100%. And that includes that you will not be able to go frequently partying. You will be sacrificing meeting up with your friends, going to tours and all. You will not be enjoying the festivals. Those are some parts of it. And it's not that you will be totally unsocial. You will leave everything out. You need a good number of friends who will support you. You need family who will be supporting you throughout your journey, but you will be missing out on some part of the fun during these 2 3 years of journey. So whether you are ready for it, if you're ready for it, if you can find that one excuse that I'll do it, even you have many other reasons to quit it, then probably yes, you can jump on.
Yes, sir. Sir, you told like how many years you can prepare for the exam. You left the job and cleared the exam in your first attempt. How much years like you are planned for? Like, what if you didn't clear for in the first attempt? Then
Yeah, after leaving my job, this was my first attempt. So this was theoretically my second, but I knew my first attempt was not even an attempt because I was doing a job and I was not prepared for the mains examination. So I knew that for this 1.5 years, I tried to give my 100%. Yet, this exam is such that even if you give your 100%, there is 70% hard work, and I feel I term this as 30% luck. There is always a luck factor that may not work with you in an attempt. I would have given one more chance, surely. After that, I could have thought of taking it parallelly with my job or something like that. But yes, I can think that yes, 1 year my luck would not have, may not have been very great.
sir,
And it's true that even if you have done your everything, uh, marks can be off by 3 4 marks in each paper, and that would have resulted in changing the whole marks by 20 or 30 marks, and that is good enough to put you out of the list. So there is that bit of luck that you need to accept. You may not clear it in the first attempt. You may, if everything goes well, but don't get disheartened in the first attempt. Give again 100% in the second attempt and see your progress.
sir, UPSC is a very long journey. What kind of support did you receive from friends and family that aided you in reaching such heights?
Look, there it is, long journey where you will be dealing with very highs and lows. There will be time when you may have little bit of less confidence in your mind that because always it is true that there are people who are more talented theoretically in terms of some ranks in some examination who are better than you and preparing and not clearing the exam. So you will always have the excuse to find that okay, probably I am not good enough. So in that time friends come. They are somewhere I think who always give you motivation. Find friends who are positive about you and who think and you can do it. And also family who will be there to support you throughout the journey. There will be failure. There will be time when you will not be getting marks as you expected in mock test. You will be getting marks very less in the mock test and all. At that time, you do not need to get disheartened and leave the journey and all. Probably there are friends who did not clear prelims in their second attempt. I have friends who could not. Just yesterday, prelims result came out, and they could not. I think it is that friends and family who support you that yes, okay, it might have something gone wrong in the first two attempt, but that does not mean you are a failure. There are many instances where the person could not clear prelims in two times, and that in the third attempt that person cleared it with flying colors. So these are some of the things that your friends and family always provide you. You need to always find these kind of friends who are very supportive about your effort.
Yes, sir. Sir, you prepared for 1 year with job and 1 year without the job. There are many participants among us which are working professionals also. So, what was your schedule while you are in job and you are preparing also? Like Texas Instrument, you have so much workload there also. How you manage that time? Like in first attempt also you cleared prelims.
Yeah, so there are many who clear, even prelims, mains, and all the interview with a job. In that case, one person need to have very clarity in thought that what are the things that are required, what is the syllabus, and how that person covers the whole syllabus in a proper manner. One of the major problem for many people is that they read random things which are probably in the syllabus in some far-fetched manner, and they spend a lot of time when UPSC doesn't ask a single question from those area. In that way, they have opportunity cost. They are not reading the important things that is actually required for the exam, but they are reading things that are actually not important for the exam. So for clearing the exam with a job, one person need to have a very good strategy, very good amount of resource to have proper notes and probably little bit more time because it may take 1.5 year to complete the whole syllabus. But if you are not with a job, you can give your 11 or 12 hours a day for the exam, and you can almost cover the syllabus in 1 year. So there is a this trade-off. If you are okay, if you're financially not that strong, I recommend people that you can go along with the job, but you need to understand what your priorities are. There will be times in the job when you will not be able to read even for 2 hours a day because there will be high amount of pressure from the job. So you need to find time. You need to cut other things. You can wake up very early. They read for 2 hours, then go to job. In weekend you need to avoid everything and study for 12 hours a day. You need to put your priorities in order. If you have put your priorities in order, if you put UPSC in one of the topmost order in the order, then probably you'll always able to find some time. It is not possible that your job will take up 80% of your time that is available to you. There will be time. You just need to put this in high priority, and you just need to find excuse to study for this exam. If you are of that mentality, I think job is not a factor.
Sir, what you want to say to those students who are in college and wants to prepare for UPSC?
There are many who actually start preparing even from I think final year. That's a very good thing. Some of my friends even started doing that. They left it in the middle of the journey somehow, but it gives you an upper hand. This year, I think I met one friend who cleared it with flying colors, and he was I think 2019 pass out. So I think just after 1 year of after passing out, and he cleared it. So it is a very good thing. I think in final year, people generally do not have much work. I used to enjoy final year a lot. Okay, I got my job in the beginning of the 4-1, and then I used to play and swim, everything. Like I was enjoying and wasting my time. If people are very serious about the exam, they can start preparing from the final year itself. One can, I think, easily give around 5 hours a day for this examination. At least start preparing for it, read the basic books, read the basic textbooks that are needed for this journey, and make yourself very comfortable with the syllabus. In that way, when you are out of the college, you can directly jump on the whole thing for a, like, good attempt. It's not that after getting out of college you get into some job and then you start doing it. When you are ready throughout your final year, getting ready, then in the next attempt of just after getting out of college, you can give your 100% best, and you can probably clear it. That will make you one of the youngest, member in the service, and that has some other benefits. When you will do service for a very long time, you will be able to get into the highest post available. So that is something that I'll encourage everyone who actually wants to come for civil service. But before jumping into that, one need to understand whether that person really wants to become a civil servant. Because in college, generally, many people do not have a clear understanding of what civil service is or what private job is, because that is the first job that you are aiming for. There are many, pros and cons of civil service, and also pros and cons for private service, private job that we generally get from NIT Warangal. People got very very high package job that you can never compare with civil service. Those guys will be earning 3-4 times compared to a civil servant, at least an honest civil servant. So those kind of things, one need to have a good understanding about whether that person is sacrificing private job for the right cause, or after 2 years that person finds himself that, okay, I'm probably not good enough for public service, and then I cannot go back to private service because I do not have experience and I lost the opportunity. So that is something that one need to think. If one is very sure that he wants to go for civil service, I think final year is a very good time to start.
Sir, what difficulties did you face with while you were preparing? Not in your first attempt, in the second attempt.
Difficulties as such, I mean, I enjoyed the journey throughout. Okay, that is something I'm very happy to share with people. That people say it is a very stressful journey. Yes, there are some bit of stress. There is some bit of uncertainty throughout the journey, but I enjoy it because I learned a lot, and I enjoy learning. We get to learn a lot about things that we have never thought about: our internal security problems, our economic fundamentals, our economy, world history, and then international relation, how the whole thing works. It gave me real joy to learn all these things, to get used to what newspaper, how important newspaper is in your daily life, and all the relevance of the events that are happening around the world, around the country every day. So it gave me real joy to understand all these things. In spite of all these, there will be, as I said, there will be times when you will feel little demoralized. That probably, I don't know, you will be wasting time for no reason. You There will be times when you will be studying for 10 hours or 11 hours a day daily, and then suddenly you will feel like, okay, I don't want to study at this moment. So those are times probably you just need to, you can take some rest, go out, have some fun for 1 or 2 days, then come back and then again study. There will be time you need to, you know, beat yourself to follow the discipline. You need to get disciplined, because without discipline, you will be out of track very soon. There are things like answer writing. One almost no one likes, I believe, in the beginning. But when you do answer writing every day, after certain 20-21 days or after 1 month, you will be habituated to write answers daily. That is not something fun. You need to, make yourself disciplined, and that is something, one of the tough thing that one need to understand. There will be many reasons to tell yourself, okay, let's not do it tonight. Let's not write answers, or let's not study this chapter tonight because I'm not feeling it. But you need to be disciplined to tell your heart and brain to know you have to do it, because this is your routine. So being disciplined is the one of the most challenging part here.
Sir, you told about answer writing. When someone should start answer writing? And should he start from the beginning itself?
I personally don't think so. I feel once the person has covered the basic syllabus once, one person knows what the fundamentals or like the basic, that person has given one basic read in the history book, geography, economics, and all the basic subjects that we have. After that, one can start answer writing. Because before that, if one writes answer, then that person doesn't even know the basics of those subjects, and the answers will be very poor. There is no meaning in writing those. You can, memorize things by other means. You don't need to write answers when you don't know how to write answers or what to write. Don't just mug up things and then write something where you don't understand the basics. So have some basic understanding of the syllabus, give it a whole, cover the whole syllabus once, like overall, and then start answer writing, then improve on that gradually.
Sir, you told about the importance of study. Like one should enjoy learning, and one should have habit to crack this exam. Is study habit. But there are many people out here like who means while pursuing engineering, people uh, lost their study habit. Like when we go to software field, we
Hmm.
do coding, and then we someone want to switch to that UPSC. So what you will suggest to them, because it is very difficult to switch. Means both are too different.
I understand. Engineering is kind of jugaad. We also
Exactly.
used to do like read the least that is possible and then gain the maximum marks. Uh, it is true. There will be some little bit of challenge in the beginning. You don't need to study with 10 hours a day, but you need to be disciplined. That is the primary thing. Be disciplined. Start with probably 5 hours, 6 hours a day, and gradually improve it to 10 hours, 11 hours. It is something when you follow routine and gradually improve your number of hours of study and your amount of dedication towards that thing. I think it's not a big challenge. I think everyone who has come to NIT or any IIT or any other good institute in engineering or any other field, that person, at least from NIT, IIT, those institutions, those persons have studied for 10 hours or 11 hours a day during their preparation of joint entrance. It is not something unique to them. Uh, and anyway, like you just need one motivation. You need to do it. That's it. If you know that you need to do it, there is no excuse that is going to save you. You know, I used to tell myself this that okay, I can give myself excuse that I am not feeling reading all these things today or tomorrow or for 5 days, 7 days. There will be no excuse that is going to help you after your name is not there in the list. Okay, so don't cheat yourself. If you cheat yourself, you will keep cheating yourself. You will not study for several reasons. You will find like okay, there is something that's why I cannot study. But always remember, then you are cheating yourself. If you don't cheat yourself, give your 100% genuine 100%. I think reading 10 or 11 hours is not a big factor.
So who is your role model?
There are like in different field there are different role models, but I think overall in life, Swami Vivekananda is someone who I admire and I always try to follow.
Yes, sir. Sir, is there anything that you believe that proved to be true every time in this journey of yours?
Um, Okay, so I when I started my journey, I followed some toppers talk, and those guys used to tell that again, it's not very easy to study 10, 11 hours a day. You need to be disciplined, and I felt that firsthand that during this 1.5 years of journey, there will be time approximately, once every couple of weeks. There will be times that your brain will tell that no, 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 for no reason you will be feeling that okay, let's not study today, but that time discipline comes up. You need to find some another thing I like to mention that it is better to go through this journey with some partner who is going through the same journey. It's tough when you are doing this alone, but when you are sharing this journey with a good friend who is also preparing for the same goal or some similar goal, in that time probably that person encourages you to come out from that non-productive zone. When that other person will be in some unproductive time, then you will be helping that person. Okay, let's study something together, or let's do something together. Let's solve these questions together, or let's ask ourselves 10 or 15 questions each day. So in that way, it's very easy to come out of this unproductive zone and again get back to very productive life.
Yes, sir. Sir, if you get an opportunity, like if you can go back, will you pursue engineering?
Yes, yes. I am an engineer in my mind. Okay, even after I become a civil servant, my even optional was electrical engineering. And in my daily life, I believe I'm an engineer at the core of my heart. I'll use my engineering skill in some manner in civil service, because civil service is becoming very tech driven over time. And if you are a very good engineer, is something again, jugadu, that idea, it is something I think always important in life. There will be challenges. You will need to find some small techniques here and this problem. Then I think an engineering mind comes up and say, okay, let's do it in this way. In that way, the cost will not be very high. Then probably I'll be able to solve the problem. So engineering is always something I love, and I am still an engineer in my heart. It will always be there.
Yes, sir. So now there are some questions that we got from registration form. One of
Mhm.
them is what is most difficult aspect of UPSC preparation in your opinion? The large syllabus, the competition, or something else?
Don't think about the competition during your journey. There will be, mock test where your rank is very poor. UPSC asks questions that no one else can ask. Okay, so don't compare yourself during this journey. Give your best. There will be, mock test where you'll get less marks because the paper are checked not by UPSC faculty or someone. So don't compare. That is something that is important throughout this journey. Otherwise, you will feel demotivated. The most important and tough thing is discipline. If you are disciplined, it is good. If you are not, then it's very tough.
Okay, sir. Discipline matters a lot in the whole
Yes, yes,
preparation.
yes.
So, another question is when should we start preparing for UPSC? What is the
I
correct time according to you?
I think I mentioned it. Everyone is having a different journey in their life. There are people who start in final year. There are people who start just after getting out of college. I started during while doing my job. There are people who are preparing for other exam, then suddenly wants to switch to UPSC. So there is no right time, but yes, there is some age limit that everyone almost knows. Around I think 32 years for general. So if there is, I think, no right time. It's something when you actually understand that yes, you want to do it. You want to give 2 or 3 years of your life dedicatedly for this exam, and you are ready for it. Go for it.
So whenever someone thinks like he wants to pursue UPSC, there are many factors like family, friends who are there like you should not pursue this. Like it is very risky. So
Yeah,
what
no
you
risk,
think?
no gain, I think.
Exactly, sir.
Okay, so you cannot get something very precious without taking risk. You
So
have to take risk.
apart from discipline, what you want to say to a college student, like how he should manage his studies apart from discipline?
Time management, do always cost benefit analysis, because there is no end to the syllabus. There is no end to the things that you can read in UPSC. Throughout this journey, always read the syllabus again and again, the UPSC syllabus. Always keep reading previous year UPSC questions throughout this journey. That will give you an idea that what questions actually UPSC asks. There are many topics in the syllabus that UPSC asks certain types of question. If one read that UPSC previous year question again and again from that topic when that person is studying that topic, then that person will understand that UPSC doesn't ask random area, like random questions. There is some kind of pattern that one will find. So this is something that I'll like to mention, that this is important. Read the syllabus. Don't just read random things because someone else says that it is in the syllabus. If it is in the syllabus, read previous year questions, understand what kind of questions are asked in the UPSC from this topic, and then focus on that. There will be many areas which you will leave because to gain probably 10 marks, you need to study for 400 hours or 300 hours is an area. So it is better to, leave that area, give some basic understanding on that area, and then read the areas where if you give 200 or 300 hours, you will probably be able to gain more marks. So this cost benefit analysis is important, and enjoying, like, it is also important that you are studying, and if you leave all your passion, it is also not right. UPSC is not beyond life. Okay, there are there are instances when people get very demotivated, need to go through counseling and all. I think one need to understand it is just part of life. It is okay if one doesn't clear UPSC. It is not the ultimate thing. It is not the best thing that one can do. It is probably just one opportunity that one gets to serve in bureaucracy in some particular position. There are many other hundreds of positions that one can achieve. So follow also your passion. Like I used to play badminton almost regularly whenever I got chance. I used to study books whenever, like story books, or sometimes do other things. So if you are very passionate about something else, also give time to that. That will, improve you as a person overall, and that will get always reflected in the interview. Because in interview, it is not called interview; it is called personality test. In personality test, they see almost everything, indirectly or directly. They see how like how wholesome a person you are, or you have just studied and done. You have done nothing else. That is not some a good person. I think UPSC doesn't want that kind of person in a civil service, because in civil service you will not be studying. You will be dealing with numerous dimensional of diverse things, wherein to show your leadership skill, your social abilities, your creativity, and many other things. So I think it's important to also follow your passion, become a multidimensional person. Whatever you are doing, give your best. These are some attitude that will always help in life, irrespective of UPSC. That's something UPSC has taught me. I feel that it doesn't matter even if I have not cleared UPSC, whatever I have done, one can become a good person, a dedicated and good person to be with by having these qualities. So that is something I'll mention.
Sir, you told about your interview. Yeah, you got one of the highest interview marks in UPSC history. Like highest is 2,212. Now 215. You got 206.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you share your interview experience with us?
Yeah, so interview is something that I really enjoyed, and my personal experience when I started my preparation for interview, I was not very confident uh, because of some language challenges. Because I am not used to speaking English fluently from my childhood. Okay, I started speaking in English after coming to college, and so I was not very confident that I'll be able to convey all my message that I want to convey, and I'll be sounding confident yet not overconfident. My choice of words will be right. So that is something I was concerned about. And in UPSC interview, there is again no syllabus. You need to fill a form called DAF 1 and DAF 2, detailed application form. And in that form, you also almost mention everything that is important and happened in your life, starting from your birthplace, what your parents do, where you have studied, how much marks you have got, and any leadership ability, any extracurricular activity, almost everything. And UPSC can ask any question that is relevant to that. Like if you are from certain district, they can ask what are the challenges of the district, and what are the rivers that have gone through it, what are the challenges with the rivers that have gone through it. I went to Germany for DAAD internship program. They asked a lot many questions about India-German relationship. Why is Germany doing good in certain areas? What are the countries that surround Germany? What is the weather in Germany? And they can ask anything from German that is related to Germany. If Germany would have, won a World Cup in that year, they would have asked why Germany won a World Cup and why, like, what do you think changed their approach? So there is no particular syllabus. You need to pick up every word in from your DAF and think of as many number of questions that you can think, and make some answers, make some basic answers, and revise those answers. Keep telling those answers to your, co competitor who will be there in the interview. Make small teams and keep discussing those answers. Ask them to counter ask them to ask counter questions that can be asked. It is very easy to answer once, but when counter question comes up, it becomes very tough suddenly, because they might have found some loophole in your answer. Then they ask the counter question. So it is like practicing again and again, again and again. And like trying to cover almost everything that has happened in recent times in newspaper, not vaguely, clearly have some idea that okay, something that happened probably 2 3 days back. You need to have some good understanding to tell in front of people who have served government as secretary or big Indian foreign service officer with confidence that you are not telling lie. You cannot try to befool them. You cannot uh, assume that you will be telling some random things and they will assume it. uh, like our seniors used to tell that the five people that are there in the board, they cumulatively have 300 years of experience at least. And me being a 25 26 years old, it is almost impossible to fool them. Okay, so it's not advisable to try to give wrong answers or some try to do some guesswork there. So you need to be humble, you need to be confident in your answers which you are trying to tell, yet not overconfident. You need to listen questions carefully, try to answer in the best comprehensive manner possible, have clarity in thought, cover all the syllabus. And even then, there can be questions that are very out of your league. Like there are questions that were asked to me, uh, those are very politically sensitive questions. They can see anything, like they can see whether I can handle a politically sensitive question from a bureaucrat's point of view. You cannot give answers that is sensitive to some party or that is biased towards some political party or something. So you need to have those things in mind inherently, that your answer should be very balanced, very backed by data, backed by information, and yet humble. So all these things should work in your mind every day when you practice those answers. So in that way, probably one will be more or less good amount of prepared for the interview.
So did you give practice interview?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
so
I
according to
I
you, how many practice interviews someone should give, and from
There
when they
is,
should start?
yeah, yeah, there is no absolute number. I think no one can give that. I gave, I think, around 7 or 8 mock interview, 7 or 8 probably. Yeah, some of them were online, some of them were offline. So when after a couple of first interviews, 2 or 3, you will be able to find areas where you are not very confident about. Your answers are not very clear, or you will be able to find other things that you probably move your hand too much. You probably move your head too much or something, some other relevant things that are important for the interview. So after those interviews, try to improve on those areas, try to cover the areas which you did not cover and was found out in last interview. From those areas, try to find areas that you could have missed and probably the interviewer also missed, that again can be asked. So cover try to cover as much as you can. One of the senior that actually helped me a lot, I thought after around 30 35 40 days of preparation of interview, I thought my interview preparation is over and I can do well. And I went for some mock interview. It was moderately well. First interview was very poor, then it became little better because I understood something, I improved on those things. Then I thought, okay, I am okay. Then I talked to that person, and that person told me he prepared for the interview for almost 100 days, that is between mains and interview. Every day he just prepared for interview. Then he got around 194 or 93 marks. Then I realized the actual value of interview. Because interview you get, I got 206 marks. That is almost equivalent to 2 papers of GS.
Yes, sir.
So it is not just one examination, it is equivalent to 2 papers. So if you can give 400 hours or 500 hours per paper for GS, you can give 800 900 hours for interview. So that person, and that really changed my perspective towards interview. I try to find every small minute things that can be asked from any of my topic that is somewhere vaguely related to me in some way. I studied in Telangana. I learned, I tried to remember almost all things like sex ratio, then why was Telangana formed, what is the difference between Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, cultural difference between those two states, cultural difference between Telangana and my home state, home district, what is the population of Telangana, and what is the population and challenges of specifically Warangal urban district, what is happening there, what are the rivers there, what is the geography there. everything that you can think of. You know, if you pick one name, then try to think political, geography, history. What is the history of it? Try to remember everything. Then during that time, Ramappa Temple got UNESCO World Heritage Site status. That is in Telangana. So those are all important events that happened, and you need to remember almost everything. So try to find as many questions as you can think of from any word that is written in your DAF. It depends on the interviewer; they can ask anything. Be prepared for it. And even after that, if something is asked that you don't know about, don't try to befool them. Be very polite and say, "I don't know." So that is some good strategy.
Sir, when you're stuck at some place, like in interview, many times this happen in companies interview. And what if in the personal interview someone is stuck at some place? What he should do? Must means he starts saying something, but after some time he realized that he don't know that much. So how he should manage that
I think one need to
situation?
practice again and again before telling. It is very different from the job interview that we used to give in the college. In college, I went for two job interview, and I think I got cleared very easily. And we don't practice for 2 3 months for the interview. We practice for a couple of months, but we don't keep telling answers again and again. It is in job interview, it is more like testing your, you can take a pen and start solving the question and then show them that you actually know it, and they see different kind of other aspects of you, whether you are flexible enough for a company, whether how much depth you have in your area. Some things are very common, that is for private job interview and also UPSC interview. But for UPSC interview, you cannot tell a single word, almost you cannot tell a single word that is out of context. They can ask the next question from there. So if you tell a wrong answer, you not only gave a wrong answer, you also created another question from there. They will surely, if you give some wrong answer, they will surely ask next question from there. They will find it, okay, you don't know, but somewhere you mentioned it, and tell me why you did it, why you told all these things. So you need to practice again and again. That if something is asked from economy, hotel areas, take, you can always pause for a couple of seconds, 3 4 seconds, think, jottle down your thought, and then answer. You cannot start answering a question and then in the middle you think that, okay, I don't know where I started and where I am going. That will surely cost you a lot of marks.
Yes, sir. Sir, which subject should someone from engineering background choose as an optional, which can align with their means if someone don't want to pursue their graduation subject?
Okay, so I chose electrical engineering, although I did my BTech in ECE, so there is some bit of similarity between ECE and electrical engineering. Some 60 70% is same, then again 30% we need to study. There is no area that you will find that, okay, that is relevant from engineering point of view and also from UPSC point of view. Many people take subjects that are totally not even far away related to engineering. Many people take anthropology, people take sociology, geography, and psychology. So it depends on the person. I feel if one has good amount of command in their subject while they are doing their engineering, they can take it. Just ask these questions. So if you take engineering subject, if you go for gate examination, whether you can perform really well, whether your rank can be in top 50 or something. If you believe that, if your rank can be in top 50, then probably you have that confidence to go for the exam and with the subject, and you will be doing good if you prepare with that capacity. If you are not confident that, okay, I did not study in my college, then one doesn't need to take engineering. Engineering has many pros and also cons. Cons is that if you do mistake, it will be costing you a lot of marks. Pro is if you do everything right. If it is more or less numerical type, right? If you're doing everything correct, then you will be getting a lot of marks. Then you will be again competing with the IITs, NIT students who are very confident about the subject. And if you take other subject, many people from engineering, they take mathematics. That is something I again advise. If you are confident in mathematics, that is, anyway in first year we study math M1 M2, right? That is there in the syllabus. There is, I think, around 50% things that I studied. I realized that, okay, I studied in some point of time. in mathematics syllabus. I could have taken mathematics or electrical engineering, and I took electrical. So mathematics is some area that one can take if he or she is confident that okay, I will be doing good in the subject. Remembering that the best of the top IITians, top NITians will be taking mathematics and engineering subject. Okay, so you know your competition. That's why I told GATE. If you can do best in your GATE examination, if you think you can do, take those. Otherwise, there is no harm in taking any other subjects. There are many people, actually, lot many people who are from engineering background and have taken anthropology and have done wonderful in their examination. So it depends on in anthropology the subjects like the pros and cons are, I can say that the syllabus is relatively smaller compared to mathematics or engineering, but you need to articulate properly. In mathematical subjects, probably articulation does not matter that much. What matters is how accurate you are. But in all those arts subjects, you need to articulate well. And also, as many people take all those subjects, you will be again facing a lot of competition. So you need to prove yourself that okay, your answer is actually better than everyone else. So these are some pros and cons. Yeah.
Sir, there is one specific question: how to prepare for ethics paper?
Okay, so ethics paper is something that is very it मतलब किसी का रैंक बनाता है और तोड़ता भी है. If I most of the people they don't study too much about ethics paper. They prepare. What I used to do last time, I got very good marks, 125 or 30 something related to that, and this time my ethics marks got decreased. I don't know why, but it got decreased. But generally, what is advised is that prepare basic definition of all the things that can be asked. Prepare relevant examples from personal point of view, historical point of view, and general example that you can write. And read some philosopher's idea. Prepare some, good quotes that you can put in the answers. And these are for the first couple of questions. And for case study, read previous year toppers answer copy. Read some good case studies. Try to understand what things need to be written, like who are the stakeholders, what are possible scenarios that you can think of, and what is the most, how you can choose the best scenario out of all these. It is not something very tough, I'll say. It is something how well you articulate and how well you can, find all different scenarios. And it is not something very tough. That happens to us every day, almost every day. Whenever something happened, we always think, okay, oh, what could have been happened? Like what could have happened that, okay, probably this happened led to this incident or this happened led to this incident. So this kind of, analysis is something very natural to us. So read some topics answers of previous years, prepare your mind, write some mock test, you will get some feedback and improve upon that. I think that is good enough.
Sir, after you gave 100% attempt, you took coaching like in Delhi, as you told. Have
No, I
you?
did not take coaching.
So if you, so what means what is better, like taking coaching or going for self study?
It depends on person to person. So I'll say why I took coaching and why one can take coaching, why I didn't take coaching, and why, like, what should be the chain of thoughts. So the things that we need to study, at least history, geography, everyone has studied in class 9, 10, right? So if one is confident that okay, whatever I had studied, I studied well, and it is not that history is something I never really understood. Okay, then probably that person have basic deficiency in understanding in those subjects. There are subjects that I never studied, like economics. I never studied throughout my schooling career. For that subject, I took some online coaching. I did not join a coaching center. There are some from YouTube. I studied initially. Then I took one course in an academy. So you can do all these things to cover the areas that you actually have never studied. If you are not confident in the subjects that you have studied in the beginning, you can take coaching. what coaching centers will do actually is they will teach you all the basics. They cannot tell you, okay, these will be the probable question, these are the question. If you just read these questions, you will get common questions. It will never happen. They will teach you basic things. They will give you basic notes. Then the actual struggle starts. Then you need to read the notes, comprehend all these things, connect all the areas, and then prepare. You know, uh, Add all the relevant current affairs events to those historical events or geography or economy. Then improve your answers gradually. The pros is that you know that you are reading the right thing. Whatever they are teaching, that is in the syllabus. You are not reading something unnecessary. You are reading the right thing, and probably you are getting a very good quality material if you are studying from a coaching center. The con is the probably coaching center will take 3 to 4 hours a day. So whatever coaching center is teaching in 3 to 4 hours a day, if you study by yourself, if you know the basics, it will take 2 hours or probably less. I don't know. 4 hours just probably for the coaching center. Then you need to go, then come back. All these things. It will take time. It will take a substantial amount of time in your day. Okay, so during that time, you will not be able to study by yourself. Someone else will be teaching you. You need to come back and then read again, memorize again. So that takes a good amount of time from your schedule. If you have, if you are aiming for 2 years down the line, then okay, you can take coaching. You can prepare your basics very well. Then start, improving your answers gradually by adding all those other things. But if you are sure that okay, you know your basics right, you don't need to read everything from basics from a teacher. You can read history books and understand and make your own notes properly. There is no need, I think, to take a coaching.
Yes, sir. So now we will go for Q&A. We will we will give permission for all the participants who wants to ask question. They can unmute. Kunal, you can give the permission to everyone.
Yeah, it's done.
Or you can type your question in the chat box.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. You're audible. You can speak.
Yeah, so okay, so let us say like a person is an absolute beginner and he's trying to decide like uh, how to start, how to exactly start. So like he can read some NCERT books or maybe join a coaching. So from an absolute beginner's perspective, how should he strategize for the exam?
I have shared a doc earlier. You can read that. If I can summarize the ideas from there, just initially, read the syllabus. Get some understanding about how much you have to study throughout this journey. Read some previous year questions. Read some toppers answer copy. Reading toppers answers copy will give you idea that whether you can write answers of that quality. If you feel that okay, you can write answers of that quality, if you know the things, it will boost your morale. Then start reading basic things that I have shared and many other toppers have also shared. Read the basic books once, like from history, geography, economics, then environment, then what else? Like okay, polity. How can I forget polity? So some areas, like these areas, read the basic book once. Read NCERTs in the beginning, probably that's right, and then start reading the basic books. After that, you will get some good idea. Okay, that you have read the basic 5 or 6, 7 books that is needed. That you need to revise again, probably 3, 4 times before the first exam. But when you do that, you will get some good understanding. After that, again read the whole syllabus, cover each point. After that, cover each point in the syllabus that is written separately. Make notes from those separate points. Read previous year questions. Try to find what questions are asked from those particular word, and then you will be understanding like how depth you need to go to prepare for that area. In that way, you will be in the main phase of your preparation.
Yeah,
Did I
thanks for
answer the
that.
question?
So, yeah, that was clearly exactly what I wanted. But just one more thing, I think I joined a bit late, so I guess this whatever you told is primarily for the mains, like answer writing and all that. But if we talk about the prelims, which has this objective, so any like that is the first step, right? So any particular like a strategy for that, like from like which books to read or like what to cover for that?
Okay, though, so books are more or less same, I feel, and also tell yourself this question, like your aim is not to clear prelims. Your aim is to clear prelims, clear mains, clear interview, have your name in the rank list. Okay, so don't just prepare for prelims and neglect everything. For prelims, there is a separate strategy one need to follow. For mains, I feel one need to understand the bigger picture. One need to understand the thing in a bigger way so that one can express his or her opinion in diverse dimension. But in prelims, what matters is very, very small, minute information. So when you are reading in the first time the books, you don't need to read all those minute information, because when you will focus on those minute information, you will miss the bigger picture. When you are reading the book for the first time, read to understand what is the flow of how is the flow and how events happen. Or if you are reading polity, try to have an understanding how our whole thing works. If you start to remember exactly how 2/3 of absolute majority or 2/3 of present and voting, etc., all this kind of voting procedure, then you will miss the bigger picture, how actually parliament works. That is not needed. So for the first time, read in overall sense. When prelims comes before 3 to 4 months in the beginning, then at that time start reading it each line as a source of question. You need to read each line from these basic books and ask yourself what questions can be asked and how this particular sentence is different from something very similar that can be written. Okay, there are many, suppose there are many constitutional bodies that are there. For some constitutional bodies, there are conditions that is put in the constitution who can be appointed in this chair, and for some there is nothing written. There is, for some situation, president decides the duration and salary and emoluments for those positions. For some it is already written, it is compared to some other constitutional post. So all these things, whenever you are reading it, ask yourself what similar you have written, you have read somewhere else, that can be that someone can confuse you with. So in that way, your the technique of reading will change itself. Each line you will be reading from a point of view, okay, these can be confused with something else, these can be asked, this sentence can be twisted and made to sound very similar, and then you will make a mistake. That is something you need to remember during prelims. For mains, you need to get some wholesome understanding and read answers, write answers again and again, and improve your quality of answers, quality of representation, draw maps, draw diagrams, everything. That is for mains point of view. Mains, if you forget one minute information, it may not hurt you much, but in prelims that will surely cost you 2 marks.
Yeah, that was all I wanted. Yeah, thank you so much.
Congratulations, Priya.
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, I wanted, like, your optional was engineering, and as it is technical subject, so it requires a lot of practice. So I wanted to ask how many hours you need to practice daily, like to keep in touch, or can we live for around 1 week, then again we practice
Okay,
before the
it's a good
optional
question.
examination?
It's a good question. I think it is relevant to everyone who is aiming to take optional subject as technical, maybe some engineering or mathematics or something. It is true that if you don't practice, you will forget those small formulas. Then again, you need to study. So what I used to do is almost give every day before there is prelims. Then 1 month before prelims, I used to give 100% for prelims. There is nothing else. But until that 1 month, I used to give at least 2 hours daily for optional. Once you cover the whole syllabus, primarily initially when you are trying to cover the syllabus, give maximum number of hours to optional and also mains, other subjects in the beginning of your journey. Try to cover the syllabus properly, the optional, because optional is somewhere again you will be getting much more marks compared to GS. Okay, so you need to give that amount of focus to optional. So cover the syllabus thoroughly, make notes, make your own notes. Don't take someone else's notes because it doesn't help. Make your own notes. If you are taking like electrical optionals or some engineering optionals or mathematics, in your notes inculcate all those important numericals that you have done at that time. You can probably leave 1 or 2 pages blank, whether you can put another important numericals in the latter time. So all these things need to be kept in a note that is properly written, and that note you need to revise again and again. So while making notes, you can give little bit of more time, make proper notes, make it ready, and when your whole syllabus is almost covered, after that practice electrical engineering almost for 1 to 2 hours a day daily. Don't leave it. When you will do it, you will see that your confidence is very high. Your number of mistakes that you are doing is less. That is probably true for the first and second attempt. After that, probably things will change, but I hope that no one needs to go through those. So in the beginning, I think that's something one need to follow. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vivek.
Yeah.
If one wants to decide like how that UPSC is meant for me or not, then what questions should one ask himself? Like, if I really want to become a civil servant, or do I do I want to go in a technical field? So, what questions should one ask himself? Like, how can one decide?
I feel whether you are a generalist or a specialist, whether like I realize that I enjoy when I learn a variety of things in a relatively less depth manner. If one is of a person who likes area, like who wants to explore one area to the most best way possible, that person is probably not very suitable for civil service, because civil service is called a generalist service, where you don't need to be specialist in any manner, any area. You need to learn and remember many areas to a little bit of extent, some good extent. That is primary. Second, if you enjoy learning, because like wherever you are preparing, whenever you are doing it, you need to study for 10 to 11 hours for around 2 years. So if you are sure that you don't like studying, you cannot control yourself after couple of hours of study, you need to go out, you need to enjoy, go partying, then again probably you are not someone who is very highly probable to clear the exam. And I think that's it. If you are good to follow routine, if you are someone who like to be in discipline, who are disciplined in nature, and also I think there is a good amount of uncertainty, okay, throughout this journey. How much ever you prepare, there is some situation where you will not be able to clear it. So if you are someone who is very tensed about uncertainty, try to tackle it. I'll not say if you are very tensed, you should not give it, but you need to handle those uncertainty every day. Before the final result came up, even the top rankers were unsure whether their name will be on the list. It is not like JEE mains or advanced, where you have done well, so you are pretty sure that you will be doing good. It is not something right or wrong. It is something that we multiple choice question. It is not multiple choice. It is something that we write for 10, 12 pages, 50 pages answers, and then someone is judging you. There can be a bit of mistake from any side, and your name would not have been in the list. So there is uncertainty till the last moment until you see your name in the list. If you can handle uncertainty well, then you will be able to give your best even during those uncertainty. So ask yourself these questions. If you are good enough, I think hop in.
So just a follow-up question for that, like what is an average routine of your day, like for the IS, for an IS or your routine, what is your average routine in a day of yours?
Preparation?
What works? No, sir, preparation not after, sir, becoming. And
I have not joined the service yet. Okay,
okay.
there is yet a training period that I need to go through. Then probably joining is mid next year or something. So I'm not very aware. I have some understanding about how days goes, but yet I think it changes over time. It depends on whether you are on field duty, whether you are on secretarial duty. If it is IAS, there are many other services. If it is in foreign service, then again the routine will be different. In police service, the routine will be again very different. Indian revenue is again very different. So there is difference in different service. It's very again tough to generalize what will be the general life, but you will be able to handle variety of things throughout your life if you are in IAS or Indian Foreign Service, Indian Police Service. So variety will be surely there, and it will not be very technical. That also I know, and that one should know that one cannot expect that one will go and will solve problems in software. That person need to solve problems real hand, physically. There will be some field duty that we need to go through. Was it
Good evening,
relevant?
sir. Hello. Good
Yeah,
evening,
yeah,
sir.
you're audible.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's not. I just wanted to ask you, when did it hit you that you want to become a civil servant, and how did you went forward about that?
I think I answered this question in the
Oh,
past.
sorry for that. I've joined a bit late.
Okay, I think it is recorded. I think you can.
Yeah, yeah, we will share the recording afterward.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Firstly, congratulations, sir, for your
Thank you.
achievement. Sir, and in your self-study, where did you get the guidance from, sir? And how do you know what to read and what not to read, and how to, while reading any subject, how to limit the resources? Because there are, while we listen to any topic talks, everyone suggests different resources,
Yes, yes.
and we'll
That
have a doubt that are we going in a right track or not. So how do we know that?
okay. As you said that many toppers tell in a different way. That shows there is no uniform and single path to reach the final list. Okay, that is something you can feel relaxed about. So it is. I think there are some things that are common to almost everyone who has cleared it. That is, do not read 10 things one time, read one thing 10 times. Okay, so it is important whatever you are reading, you need to write the thing in the answer sheet. That will be probably 8 to 10 months after you are reading it, in a general word, if I can say. So if you are reading something, if you cannot remember and produce some information from those reading in your answer copy, then it is not worth reading. So how to understand that whether you are reading the right thing? UPSC previous year question papers are one of the basic sources. When you are reading something, try to connect. It is connected to which subject topic, GS 1, 2, 3, 4, where it is connected. Read previous year question paper from that topic. Whether you can see that okay, this question is somewhere relevant to the previous year questions that were asked by UPSC, then it is worth. If you see that it is nowhere related, then don't read. Okay. Then other thing, you can take mock test. In mock test, when you take mock test, they provide some some of their notes. You can prepare static part of those notes from there, which I did. I took mock test from Vision IS, and they provide some previous year and that year static part of their notes. I prepared my static part of their notes from there, and then I enriched those notes from current affairs events. Whenever something important happened in, suppose in NGO, some NGO, I used to write down that event in my NGO. There is NGO in our syllabus, so I used to make online notes. I used to add that event in that NGO part, so that I can actually recollect and write that event as an example when the questions relevant to NGO comes up. So in that way, if you once you cover the basic notes, that is static, that is true from today, 10 years from now, then enrich your answers and notes from newspapers and current affairs material. In that way, you will be always on track. So when you follow a mock test series, they generally cover the whole syllabus step by step. I followed that. That helped me to cover the syllabus, each line of the syllabus. That is one way. The other way can be read the syllabus again and again. Whenever you are reading something, make sure that you are not reading something irrelevant to the syllabus. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Sir, if some good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So if someone is in in his third semester and wants to third semester of engineering and wants to go for UPSC. So should one study for his placements and internships, like acquire the coding skills and other things, or should one study only for UPSC? What is your advice on that?
From third semester, that means to one, if you are very sure that you want to become a civil servant, look, in civil service examination there is no need for coding. Okay, so if you are very sure that you want to go for it, then you can leave everything else. But what I'll suggest, because in 2-1 generally people do not have a good understanding about what their even own branch is, what are the things that that person will study throughout their 2-2-2-3, I mean 3-1 3-2 4-1 4-2. It may happen that if you leave everything and start preparing for UPSC, then you may actually lose interest in engineering, and it could have happened that you actually loved the subject and you could have gone for research, right, R&D, and you could have gone for something else. So I think 2-1 is bit too early. What I will suggest that if you're not very 100% sure, read the things that you are studying, enjoy engineering life. NIT, you're from NIT, right?
So I'm from IIT.
Okay, that's good. Then enjoy IIT life, enjoy your days, and try to try to engage in many diverse areas, probably sports, culture, somewhere that will enrich you as a person. And after that, if you want to go for civil service, that thing will be judged, that what things you did in your college life, that is other than studies, and that will act as your very strong point that you are a multidimensional person and you are not just a bookish person. And if you go for good internship, you will gain some knowledge. Again, probably if you have gone for internship in corporate domain, you will gain some knowledge from the corporate domain that you can actually mention that, okay, I saw all these things in corporate domain, and I found out that, okay, these things can be implemented in civil service. You can also understand what corporate life is. There is good amount of positive things about corporate life. That is not there. There is like transparency. There is very lack of corruption in those areas, but there is high amount of corruption in public service. So all these things you need to you don't need to shut down all your options in the beginning itself. Read it, go through your some options, try to understand many things that are available to you, try to improve your personality as a whole, and then probably in final year, I think if you can cover the syllabus in 1 year, at least to the basic level. After that you can go for it. If you want to prepare and go for the exam in the final year itself, then you can do it from now. But in that way, probably you are restricting the other opportunities that you are going to get by being IITian, and there are many multidimensional things that you can enjoy in college life. Okay, did I answer it?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, I don't know about what exactly the optional subject. How can I select the optional subject?
You are from engineering background,
Yeah,
so you are like final year or like,
I'm third year now. BTech
okay,
third.
which branch?
Electronics and communication.
Okay, so if you are there is again no universal formula that one can give that, okay, this is the best optional subject and this is the worst. If you are confident about the electrical engineering, there is no electronics here, so you need to either select electrical, or you can go for other like mathematics if you want to go for technical. Otherwise you can go for other subjects. There are many subjects, anthropology, sociology, psychology, subjects are there. So if you are confident that in electrical engineering there are some subjects that we have not studied as electronics engineer, to study power electronics, power systems, control system. Some people study control system, then power system protection, etc., etc. If you can study all these things, and you will be one of the best person who is writing this exam and taking electrical engineering. If you have that confidence, you can take it. Okay, it's just about confidence. If you know that your knowledge that you have gained in engineering is good and you have a command over it, you can take it. Doesn't matter whether you're from a very reputed institute or not. It doesn't matter whether you're sure that you have good command over it. You can take it. Otherwise, you can do some little bit of research about these very famous optional subjects that I told. Generally, there are a good number of toppers from each of these subjects in top 100 ranks. Okay, so I have already mentioned pros and cons of technical and non-technical subjects earlier. You can again listen to it, and based on that, based on your judgment, probably do some research for 10-15 days and then think of some subject, and then don't get demotivated by the things told by other people. Okay, these subjects never yield marks, this subject yields marks always, you could have taken this, you could have taken that. Once you have fixed the subject after a little bit of research, whatever you have done, make sure that you give your 100% and your answer should be best or better than most of the people who are writing optional that subject. Okay, if you can ensure that, I think your marks will be very good. Only that matters.
Thank you, sir.
I think many of the questions are covered in the doc itself, like the one you shared, and
Yeah.
the question is repeating now. So, wrapping up the meet, any advice you would like to give to our young audience today?
Good evening, sir. I have one last question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you the importance of newspaper and how should we use it, and which newspaper will be the better for prelims and mains.
That's a good question. Newspaper reading is something that one need to make their daily habit. It has to be something after your preparation. It is something as necessary as your basic needs after getting up in the morning. Okay, so what things should be read from newspaper? I think it is not very advisable to make notes every day from newspaper. It is, first of all, it will be lengthy. Second, there will be it will be very tough to revise if you make notes from newspaper every day. After 2 years, there will be 760 pages of just notes from newspaper, and that will not be relevant. So start reading newspaper for first couple of months. Most of the things that you are reading is new. Okay, so it may take 2 hours every day to read good things. In the beginning, people will not even know what is a good article, what is not. Remove unnecessary articles, probably all those, you understand, like that is totally irrelevant to UPSC. Remove those articles, read rest of the things. After 2-3 months, you will have good understanding about the things that are going on. Then probably 50% of the news that is coming up is somewhere connected to previous events. Then the number of new news will come down, and then probably you will be able to cover the newspaper in 1 hour, or probably less than an hour. That is sustainable for a long time. And why I am saying that you don't need to note down things, that it will be probably irrelevant when you will be covering the current affairs from some current affairs magazine or monthly magazine. Those things will be common. But what is advisable is that sometimes once in couple of days, 2-3 days, there are some articles that is very informative and very highly coherent to the UPSC syllabus. That means directly a question can be asked from the article that is very relevant to UPSC syllabus. These are like very few articles that come up once in 2-3 days or 5 days. You will see those kind of articles. After a couple of months of reading, you will find those articles. If you find any such articles, you can make short notes of it from mains point of view. And if you find some important information or data from it, you can store it down in your XLS or whatever method you are storing your information, data doc or something. You can collect and write all those data in your personal notes, just information and data that is relevant. Pick up information, pick up example that is very highly relevant from mains point of view, and inculcate all those things in your notes. That will improve your answer. That will make the examiner look like, okay, you are not only reading things that are very static, but you are also giving example that is very relevant, that has happened in recent times. That will improve your answer. But don't try to make notes every day. That will be very, very lengthy and will be very cumbersome over time. And regarding which newspaper to read, generally people prefer Indian Express or The Hindu. I used to study The Hindu for first 6-7 months. That is very good. Then I switched to Indian Express for almost basically no reason. Some people told that in Indian Express some articles are good. Now I can suggest that you can read Indian Express. The reason being, some say that in The Hindu is little bit too critical about government. Okay, and because you are applying for a government job, your view should not be too biased against government. In that way, your answers will not be very constructive but more destructive. I am not saying that all the articles are very critical, but some of the articles are very critical. That is needed for the democracy, but not for UPSC exam. So read Indian Express. There are some good articles, some explained series that is very important, very good. You can note down from there some one or two every couple of days, whichever you find is most relevant. And if there is some good article from The Hindu that you can find, probably there are some Telegram groups that share good articles from The Hindu. Probably once 2 or 3 days you will find that okay, this is a very good article from The Hindu that is being posted here. You can read that, but there is no need to read two newspapers at all. There is no cost benefit there.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Any more questions someone wants to ask?
हाँ सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है सर आपसे हाँ सर अभी कोई मुझे आउट नहीं है लेकिन सर आने वाले वक्त में अगर कोई डाउट
अच्छा,
आता है और सर आपको
तुम्हारे
Yeah.
हाँ सर अभी कोई मुझे डाउट नहीं है सर लेकिन सर आने वाले वक्त में अगर कोई मुझे आ जाता है डाउट तो सर मैं आपको अप्रोच कैसे करूँ क्योंकि आपका जो चैनल है टेलीग्राम चैनल इससे बहुत सारे मैसेज हैं अगर कोई इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेरी आपसे पूछनी है तो
Yeah, you can personally message me on Telegram. That is my ID, you can personally message me on Telegram. I don't know. I mean, I'll try to help as many people as I can. But I don't know how busy my life is going to get after a couple of months after training and when I get into service. But yeah, I'll be trying to help. Message me on Telegram whenever you feel there is some genuine doubt that you have. I'll be available.
Thank you, sir. No problem.
So here's the last question, sir. Any advice you would like to give to our young audience today?
I think most of the you guys are in college. Enjoy college. That is very important. Don't just be focused on that. Okay, you need to clear your PhD or something. Enjoy college. That is very precious. College time is something that no one gets ever again. The hostel life, probably you guys are again missing it because of this COVID and pandemic. And enjoy college life and have try to constructively improve your personality throughout various events in college. You can be part of some clubs, part of some sports group, part of some other events manager. Do things that are very diverse in nature that will improve you as a person, and that will help you in some place, even if you are going for UPSC or even if you are not. If you are going for UPSC, I'll always recommend that people should give this one try, not because that person need to clear it absolutely, otherwise he will be termed as failure. But this journey is so fun that one gets to understand a lot about things that one need to understand being a good citizen of the country. So it is a good journey that like one understand a lot of things about the country, our society, our nation, international relation and all. It is something very energizing. So it will be always fun that more intelligent people like you from IIT and NITs join this group and serve the country.
Yeah, thank you, sir. On behalf of EC Association and IIT Warangal, I would like to extend my hearty votes of thanks to Mr. Subhankar Bala.
Thank you
for taking the time to share with us the journey today. It had been our honor to you in with us, and I am sure that the audience is super motivated and inspired, and that we have gained some very valuable inputs. I would like to extend my gratitude to the attendees also for joining us today. Once again, a big thanks to one and all present here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Kunal, you can end the meet.